coaching carousel heating up again. Hugh Freeze.
It's hot, and I called it. I said whoever loses that game, they're getting fired. I called it, and I called Utah beating Cincinnati. So
how's it heating up if it's Hugh Freeze?
That's a good question.
Insert.
Is he going back to Liberty?
Auburn's not maybe as sexy a job as a Florida or an LSU or a Penn State. But it's still a big time job in the SEC. That's a school that's won a national championship in the last 20 years. Proud football tradition.
They've won more than that many national championships.
No, we're not doing that.
They woke up one Tuesday morning and said, "Hey, we've got 7 more."
You're right.
We got a video
Take
about
that,
it.
Bama.
We'll put it up here somewhere. Go watch that one.
They said,
"Take that, Bama,"
in 1 year of any program ever. All right, before we get you back to the video, let me tell you a little bit about our brand new partner, Better. Listen, most apps feel really confusing, right? That's what makes Better different. Better is the first real microplay app. So instead of waiting for the whole game, you can lock in a play on every drive, every snap, every pitch, every moment. It's super simple. Just swipe, make your pick, and you're in. So don't just watch the game this weekend. Live it, play it, better it. Download the Better app now and use code WASHED for a special bonus play offer. Now, back to the Waterboys College Football Show.
It's insane.
If you're watching this, I am doing a one-on-one interview with former Alabama and Ole Miss assistant Tyler Siskey, and I'm going to talk to him a little bit from a coach's perspective what the coaching carousel looks like. That interview will probably be out on a Thursday. Here's the problem. Some of the best candidates that we thought maybe would move,
they're all getting extended.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a Penn State or you're an LSU, you're Oklahoma State, now Auburn, Virginia Tech, a lot of the best guys are getting extended. I don't know what some of these schools are going to do.
So what you're basically saying is this maybe one of the first times in college football history that there's more coaching jobs open than coaches available to fill them?
I think if you're the schools that we're talking about and you're wanting to make that big splash hire that's going to calm your fan base down, is going to get the season ticket sales to get back to where you want them, I think yes. Now, and I want to ask Coach Siskey about this when I talk to him, but I kind of hope this is what happens. Some guys are going to get some young hotshot coordinators that really are the best fit for the job, but they're not the big name, are going to get maybe some opportunities at some schools that at the beginning of the season probably were not even on their radar as their next stop.
And I got some OCs and DC names for you guys that I'll bring up here in a second. See what y'all think.
Well, I think the Auburn job has to go to Butch Jones, right? Auburn's last 3 head coaches were all former head coaches at Arkansas State. Yeah. So if history tells us anything, then Butch Jones, the current head coach of the Red Wolves, will be the new Auburn head coach in 2026. Right? Like that's just how logic works, I think.
I guess.
No, but I think I like the idea of, and obviously this has happened to so many schools, and I've been thinking about this for, I mean, when did Mike Gundy get fired? Week 0? Feels like it was right at the beginning of the season.
At this point, yeah.
Week 2?
I think these schools, and I think a few of them are going to make the right decision, but I think the money is probably going to be better spent on the talent on the field rather than the coaching staff that you want to bring in. Because,
I don't know. Look at Auburn. They spent a lot of money in talent, and Hugh couldn't do anything with them.
But Hugh, that was partially Hugh's fault because he picked the wrong quarterback.
Yeah,
we can tear that apart. We could let Aaron do a 30-minute TED talk on how they chose the wrong quarterback. But I think like you think of the big names in college football coaching, right? Like no one knew who Nick Saban was until Nick Saban happened. No one knew who Urban Meyer was until Urban Meyer happened. No one knew who Kirby Smart was until he started coaching, under that Saban tree. No one knew who Ryan Day was until he kind of like made a name for himself with Chip Kelly and then came over and started calling plays for Urban Meyer. So like these Kurt Cignetti, another great name that like we didn't know who he was until we like learned who Kurt Cignetti was. So I don't want these schools, except Penn State, they can go ahead and do this. I don't want these schools getting caught up in making sure that they're bringing in a big name just for it being a big name's sake. Like, especially with the landscape of how college football is today, it's going to be so much more important for these boosters and all the people who are going to be paying these, like writing these checks, to be like, let's go spend $40 million on a roster.
Yeah.
Not to mention
maybe $12 million on a coach, but let's put $40 million on the roster.
100%. Not to mention that it's getting, since the NIL players can get paid, it's even more of a what have you done for me lately business and the pressure to win. And I was thinking about this earlier. To me, it reminds me of that old saying that the grass ain't always greener on the other side. And when we look at Lane Kiffin, he may be in the best spot at Ole Miss just to stay and not go anywhere else. Because think about it. LSU fired Brian Kelly, and they had a winning record. Yeah. Ryan Day last year, when Ohio State lost to Michigan, had to have a 24-hour security guard outside of his house.
And he was like 64-7 as the head coach of the Ohio State Buckeyes. And 30% of the fan base wanted him out.
Yeah, and look at Kalen DeBoer until he finally wrote the wrong. And, he was in the hot seat just after year one. So I get it that it's great to have that notch on your resume to teach at some of these big D1 schools, in the Big Ten or the SEC. But, like, I think even Strez, I think you may have mentioned it a couple episodes ago, if Lane Kiffin stays at Ole Miss, he could potentially have a statue out there, And so why not stay? Plus, I think that you're going to see maybe as of next year to where buyouts could potentially go away for head coaches. They may just start paying them more because so many schools now are having to pay so much money in buyouts, especially at the end of this season. And pretty much, to segue into what you were just saying, Strez, you may be better suited just to spend that money on the players.
Yeah, you're wasting. I think we're up to like $234 million in buyout money total between these 13 head coaches. Like, that's insane. Like, that's truly insane. And you look at Ohio State doesn't have a coaching issue. Their roster is probably $30 million. Indiana doesn't have a coaching problem. They just extended their head coach, dropped a bag for Kurt Cignetti. Their roster is probably close to $15 million, $20 million. Bama, Georgia, all the same, and you just like it really is starting to make you question, like, with the way that college football is now, it's probably smarter to spend the money on the on-field talent and get someone who knows football, like they can make a team that's filled with a bunch of Ferraris and Porsches and McLaren F1s, because if you have a team full of like talent, and we're starting to see that now. We're going into week 11 this week. The cream is really starting to rise to the top, and it's the teams that have the talent. At this point in the season, if you don't have the talent, you're not going to stick around. It doesn't matter who your coach is. We saw that at LSU. I don't think LSU had the talent. But they had Brian Kelly. You think if they have a head coach like that, they would be able to win. But this isn't the NFL. Like, I think coaching is going to win more games in the NFL than it is in college football, because like the talent disparity in college football is so vast, and I just think money will be much better spent on talent. And at the same time too, like, I don't know how you guys feel about retreads, but I think it's so dumb.
Yes.
When a coach is fired for lack of production and then another school goes and hires them, what do you think's going to happen?
Especially when it's another like top 5, top 10 job that, it doesn't bother me so much when it's, guy gets fired. Let's say James Franklin, gets fired at Penn State. Let's say he ends up at Oklahoma State. That doesn't bother me.
Or Virginia Tech. Yeah, those don't. That makes more sense than like Brian Kelly going to Penn State.
Yeah.
Like, that'd be stupid.
And somebody brought this up to me. Was it last week when I was talking to him about Hugh Freeze getting fired, and they were talking, and I thought, have we worked ourselves through all those guys that are on that Saban tree on that 2015, 2016 staff? Like, do they all have jobs, or have we figured out which ones can do it, which ones can't? Because I think that was a huge part of it there for a while. It was, we need a coach. That guys that were GAs were like on that staff were, getting opportunities. So I think we've worked through all of that. It's happened over the last, I'd say 30 years. It kind of works its way around. Like at Oklahoma, when Bob really had it working, then all of a sudden coordinators are getting jobs everywhere. It's happened at Ohio State. I've seen it. It's happened with Kirby's had it happen at Georgia. Nick had it happen. The good thing is there's so much parity right now. My hope is, you do what we're talking about, which is no, Bob wasn't Bob until he was Bob.
Yeah.
Nick wasn't Nick till he was Nick. Like Bob and Nick Saban, they were kind of a dice roll. I mean, Nick had won at LSU and then he went to the NFL and it didn't work at all.
Not at all.
So, and then Alabama gives him the job. So I'm hoping that, there's some guys out there like, what's his name down at Tulane that's, really got it working. He's doing a good job with a little bit. Like, that's what I like to see. I like to see guys who are doing a little bit with a lot, are doing a lot with a little bit. They're taking three
Like Blake
stars.
Anderson.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of guys out there. Some of these schools, you don't
Eric
need,
Morris at North Texas.
Yeah, you can get those guys and they'll sign a team friendly contract that can let you put a lot of money on the field. We got rev sharing now. So, that's gonna,
Especially in the conferences where all the job openings are happening.
Yeah.
It's not like it's the Sun Belt and Conference USA and the American. Like, we're talking jobs in the SEC, the Big 10, the Big 12, like the biggest like conferences, really the only ones remaining after all is said and done. And those are the jobs that are open. So obviously, like, you're going to be taken care of.
Yeah.
So you just you just need to bring in someone that's like prove that they can do a lot with a little, like you were saying. And because some of these go get an NFL guy that maybe did okay in college. Try the Nick Saban thing.
Joe Brady.
I mean, Nick Saban did a lot better than okay while he was in college before he went to the NFL. But like, you can try that path, right? Like Cliff Kingsbury.
I think he just likes working with quarterbacks. So
I think that's fair.
I think he's jaded from that Tech job.
I got some names for you guys. And I was looking at about around 5 or 6 OCs and 5 or 6 DCs. So one of the first ones that's high on my list that maybe we could see get a chance could be Blake Anderson. I mean, he's doing some good things there at Southern Miss Golden Eagles. Anderson, he's produced statistically monsters at programs with lesser resources, which I think is big, like Logan Bonner, Cooper, Legas had breakout seasons running Anderson's offense at Utah State. And before that, he elevated Justin Hansen into a Sun Belt household name when he exploded for 44 total touchdowns, 4,300 total yards in 2017. His firing and legal troubles at Utah State appear to be behind him now. We'll see, but they're the only reason why a coach of his caliber was available on the coaching carousel in the first place. Next, I like Slade Nagel with the Houston Cougars. The Cougars scored 14 points per game last fall, which was, 0.1 higher than Kent State. You don't want to be in that Golden Flashes offense neighborhood, though. But Berbay got the boot. Will Fritz scored a huge win when he lured Connor Wingman to H-Town out of the portal. But the bigger thing happened a week before Wingman announced his intentions to play for the Cougars. Slade Nagel, he spent the 2024 regular season as LSU's special teams and tight ends coach, but it was his previous work with Fritz that made him a dream union. He was part of that Tulane staff from 2016 to 2023, but he played a major role as the Green Wave's assistant head coach and OC from 22 to 23. And Tulane won 23 games in those 2 seasons, and he was credited with unlocking Michael Pratt's full potential. And then next, I like Jason. Yep. I like Jason Beck as well with Utah. without rising in the mix as a full-time starter, the offense fell off a cliff in the past 2 seasons. With the offense, clearly bottoming out last fall, it was time to make a change. So Jason Beck arrives from New Mexico after turning that ragtag bunch into the best non-service academy rushing offense. It's crazy. The Lobos, they averaged 6.7 yards per carry, which is the second highest average in the past decade. And for this offense to work, it needs dynamic rushing threat at quarterback. We know that. Kyle Whittingham made it a package deal when he brought Beck and his starter QB, Devin Dampier, to Salt Lake City. And Ben Arbuckle, that's someone to look at too. The Sooners allowed 100 tackles for loss. That devastated the running game and broke quarterback Jason Arnold. It was time for a change for Arnold and OU. The former 5-star, of course, we know he landed at Auburn, and the Sooners swung a package deal there in December. But Ben Arbuckle is an offensive wizard. His first season as a play caller back in 2022 with WKU led the nation in passing yards. Then he arrived and elevated a lackluster offense, 26.1 PPG, ranked number 79th, into really good year one. But the real explosion came last year when he named John Mateer as a starting quarterback. And Nate Potter is someone I've been interested in. Boise State. The Broncos could really use a game planning savant like Cotter to smooth things out in the transitional period, but instead they're relying on green play caller. Smell trouble with that one. But the offense will need to rely more heavily on Maddox Madsen at quarterback. The undersized overachiever beat out a former blue chip recruit in Nelson for the starting job last year, and he performed, pretty good throughout the season. His 3,018 yards, 23 passing TDs, a QBR of 75.1, which is 23rd, and paint the picture of a star on the rise. But under the hood, you start to see something trending, or you start to see some troubling trends. He made 9 big-time throws last season against 20 turnover-worthy plays, and that was the defense king on Genty. But if Potter doesn't find his sea legs quickly, we could see the Boise offense uncharacteristically struggle, just as it did against USF in Week 1. And then I can get to some DC guys later, but yeah, we could see some of those OC guys maybe, get some looks.
Yeah. No, I like that. The name that I've been talking with my dad, because he's a Michigan guy, I'm a Buckeye, but we both. I'm from Arkansas. He's lived in Arkansas basically his entire life. We love the Hogs, right? The name that we keep talking about for the Razorbacks job is Eric Morris out of North Texas.
Yeah.
And this is a guy who was the offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach for Patrick Mahomes at Texas Tech. He helped recruit Cam Ward to Incarnate Word, ended up at Washington State with John Mateer in 2022, and currently has Drew Mestamaker as the best quarterback, like most yards in the country right now. And that's a kid that didn't start a game in high school. He was a walk-on at North Texas, leads the country in passing yards. He might there are some really good young football people out there. And I think it would probably do some of these programs, it would do them better if they looked at some of this new blood and maybe said we try for LSU, right? They went from, Les Miles to Coach O to Brian Kelly. They've tried the big name thing. Hasn't really quite worked out. They had the flash in the pan in 2019. But, that was the greatest offense we've ever seen assembled, right? So, maybe try some of this young, new freshness, get something new in there.
It kind of, it works cyclical. It happened in the NFL, where all those young guys from from Shanahan's staff. Everybody's like, who coached under Mike Shanahan? Let's go find those guys. As far as college goes, we've seen it. There was everybody that was an offensive coordinator or a GA with Mike Leach got jobs there for a little while. Kingsbury,
Eric Morris is one of those guys.
Yeah, there's a lot of that, and I'm for it. I think you get a young, passionate guy who is going to appreciate the job. You don't get another Brian Kelly who comes in with an entitled attitude of, well, you know what I did at Notre Dame, and I'm going to come down here to LSU and I'm going to bring my CEO mentality and it's going to work. The one name that I keep seeing floated around, and I know this is going to like put stress
Don't
in a
you
weird
say it.
spot.
Don't. Nope. He's not going anywhere.
Urban Meyer should never get another head coaching job.
Oh, I thought you were
I
going to talk about Brian Hartline. I
no,
was like, no, please.
I keep seeing people talk about Urban Meyer, and I'm all about second chances. I'm not about third and fourth. And with the stuff that came out that was going on at Florida, and then he went up to Ohio State, and the stuff that happened when he was at Ohio State, and then the mess that he had there in Carolina, like we had enough. Or Jacksonville, we had enough of Urban Meyer.
Yeah.
If you are getting that desperate as a big blue blood D1 job that you're talking about Urban Meyer, like, come on, give these jobs to these young guys that are going to appreciate it, not some guy that you're going to have to. Can you imagine the first press conference if you're an AD and it's Urban Meyer? You're going to get asked about every scandal, every problem that he was ever the head coach of when it was an issue. You don't need
True.
that.
You know what
Like,
I can say, though, about Urban Meyer? At least he can coach in college football within the next 15 years.
It's true.
Some coaches, some former Big Ten coaches cannot do that.
Yeah, and I just and I'm, you know, somebody who sent me a message and said, how much would it cost to get Bob Stoops get back into college coaching? And I said, I don't want these guys back.
And at the same time, like, you have to think, like, the game has probably passed them by. Recruiting's completely different.
Recruiting,
the way that the game is played is completely different. The entire calendar for a college coach now is completely different. I mean, Urban Meyer hasn't even, like, he stepped away in 2018. That was not that long ago. So, like, it's just one of those things where it's like they have to have the big name, and it's like that's not what's doing it anymore. It's really not.
You don't need the big name. Like, let them come in and win a couple. They come in and rip off 4 or 5 in a row in their first season. Oh, it all goes away. Or if you even show like an upside, like, you know, a lot of people look back at that 2000 team from Oklahoma and go, man, that team was unbelievable. And I have to remind them, in 99, no one thought this was necessarily a great idea. Like, Bob won some games in 99 where he got the name Big Game Bob and the Sooner Magic thing. But a lot of that was just because, like, they didn't have nothing to work with. Recruiting was terrible. Like, the school was not in a good spot. Some of these jobs, the school is in a decent spot. Like it, lump it, shove it. LSU's not in a bad spot. They just need somebody who's going to come in and bring some culture change to it. And settle into the thing. Some of these jobs are not rebuilds. And a young coach,
I would say Penn State's probably the same way.
And some guys just need a chance, you know, like Skylar Cassidy. You know, he didn't have all that much experience, but that didn't stop him at Sam Houston last year. You know, that Sam Houston defense was elite. They were playing so far above its talent level, you know, that I'm a bit surprised a Power 4 program didn't take a run at Cassidy, you know, so, or even Corey Heatherman, you know, some guys like that, or a Tony White or a Tom Allen, you know, so sometimes you just got to get creative and maybe think out of the box a little bit.
Yeah.
And you get them on the cheap for a few years.
Yeah.
Like,
until they actually do something, you don't have to fork over $12 million. And then you can go out and spend on your roster. It's just the smartest thing to do is to go hire not necessarily like a no name, but someone who hasn't really cut their teeth as a head coach yet.
Yeah, a lot of
someone who's been around for a while, you know, maybe in their 40s.
Look at
late
Notre Dame.
30s, mid 40s. Marcus Freeman.
Yeah, I didn't think that was. I mean, I didn't know him well enough or his pedigree well enough to go, yeah, this is a perfect hire.
He got them to the national championship in 2 years.
Yeah, I mean,
granted, it's Notre Dame, but I mean, LSU is the same. Penn State, like, you've got that name, that you're that name brand. You get a coach in there that's young, hungry, and knows what he's doing. you could be in the national championship in 700 days.
And there is something, and I know that I'm going to say this and I can't explain it to fans. There is something about young coaches in big jobs. They got their kids running around the facility. Like, it brings a level of energy and juice to a program. Then when you bring some old guy in, nothing against Mac Brown, but Mac Brown at North Carolina, I thought, North Carolina, why this guy can't stay up past 8:30? Why you want to bring some old guy in? But when you bring young coaches, they're close. They're not crazy close to their players' age, but they're close enough generationally that they get it. Like, they can appeal to them a little bit. Look at what's his name at Arizona State. That guy's perfect for that job. Perfect. Yeah. I would never, if I was him, I'd never leave. Like, why? Where are you going to go that you're going to love coaching more than you love coaching at a school that's your school? You love everything about it. He plays Madden and NCAA with recruits.
Dude, he disappears into the crowd if they rush the field. It's crazy. That's a great example. And kind of brought Arizona State back to relevance.
Yes.
No one knew who he was.
Stay there, build something. If you want to have 10 years at Arizona State and then you want to move off, take big job. But, there's a lot of young guys out there. Bring a young guy in, and I think if you're a program, you'll really be excited for youth, excitement, energy, guy that can get up in a press conference and, sounds like he loves football, not a guy that sounds like he was entitled to get this job because of whatever he did at ABC school.
Someone, that can think out of the box. A little bit too. I really like the way Tony White schemes. There may not be a more multiple defense in the ACC this season than White's. His base is a 3-3-5 look, but he'll deviate from that at times. Walking a linebacker down, making it an even or 4-man front. Even last year at Nebraska, his defense succeeded, without creating a ton of negative plays or takeaways. And what his team did do was get off the field on third down. They were ranked 31st, and bow its neck in the red zone. They were ranked 20th. And, Nebraska last year when he was there dominated Colorado and replicated that success 7 weeks later in a near upset against Ohio State. Just goes to show, how someone like Tony White can scheme to take away a team's strength. He even rattled Sanders with different coverages and pressures en route to the second lowest QBR of his career at 21.3. So, someone like that, just kind of, think out of the box a little bit, give someone a shot. You may be surprised what can happen.
And keep your hands off of Brian Hartline if you're watching this, any of these schools. He's mine.
Yeah, please don't take your Ben Arbuckle. I need at least another year of Ben Arbuckle, please.
I just want to have the best wide receiver in every recruiting class for the rest of my life. That's why I want Brian Hartline to stay around.
Well, and Arbuckle's got some really good skill guys coming in, and I don't want those guys jumping. That's what I don't want.